Welcome back to the channel everyone, and thanks for joining me again on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins, jaw-dropping discoveries, and the unbelievable stories hiding inside pocket change. And today we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing tales ever connected to an ordinary-looking coin from the early 1950s, a coin so unassuming that billions of people have probably seen one just like it, but only a tiny handful have ever encountered the rarest of the rare, a coin whose bizarre errors and once-in-a-lifetime minting mistakes have turned it into a legendary piece of numismatic folklore, a coin that collectors whisper about, treasure hunters dream about, and experts constantly debate, and that is the unbelievable 1951 wheat penny that is rumored to be worth an astounding $45 million because of the breathtaking collection of errors, misstrikes, mechanical mishaps, forgotten minting experiments, and extraordinary circumstances that all collided to create a single copper coin with a value so staggering that it feels almost mythical. And yet for those who truly understand the world of rare coins, who have studied the intricacies of the minting process, and who know how the right combination of mistakes can send a coin's value rocketing into the financial stratosphere, the idea of a 1951 wheat penny climbing to a price tag of $45 million doesn't seem nearly as crazy as it sounds at first, so let's dive headfirst into this massive story and unravel the layers of history, anomaly, error, mechanical chaos, and collector obsession that make the 1951 wheat penny one of the most talked about numismatic mysteries of all time. Because this is more than just a coin, this is the perfect storm of rarity, condition, mystery, speculation, and minting drama, all rolled into one small copper disc that somehow escaped the usual fate of mass-produced coins and instead became the center of one of the most riveting conversations in the entire field of numismatics. And to understand how this happened, we need to go all the way back to the early 1950s, to a time when the United States Mint was working overtime to pump out billions of pennies for a rapidly growing post-war economy, a time when machines were being pushed to their limits, dies were wearing down faster than usual, quality control protocols were still evolving, and unexpected mechanical issues were popping up more often than collectors today might realize, because the minting environment was far from perfect. And in that chaos, some of the most fascinating and valuable error coins in American history were born, including the legendary error-riddled 1951 wheat penny that would someday become known for an almost impossible constellation of mistakes that experts still try to fully explain. As this coin is believed to feature multiple overlapping errors, each one rare on its own, but combined together so improbably that the odds of such a coin existing are nearly astronomical, which is exactly why the value of this piece has skyrocketed in the imaginations of collectors to levels that rival fine art, rare diamonds, and priceless historical artifacts. Because when a coin breaks the rules of minting in enough spectacular ways, it becomes something far greater than a piece of currency. It becomes a numismatic legend, a piece of storytelling, a piece of history, and a piece of mystery all at once. And the 1951 wheat penny at the center of this extraordinary tale is believed to have begun its journey with a dramatic double die obverse error, one of the most sought-after types of mint errors in the entire hobby, where the die that imprints the coin shifts slightly between strikes, causing the date, lettering, or portrait to appear doubled, ghosted, or shadowed. And if this coin indeed displays a bold, dramatic doubling on the date or on Lincoln's profile, that alone could make it worth tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, because strong doubled dies are among the holy grails of error collecting. But this coin doesn't stop there, because the story goes on to describe additional layers of minting mistakes, including the possibility of an off-center strike so severe and yet so perfectly balanced that the coin still retained its full round shape but displayed a noticeable displacement of the design, something that collectors highly prize because it demonstrates a dramatic failure in the alignment between the die and the planchet. And despite this misalignment, the coin is rumored to still have full details, a rarity in itself, because most off-center errors compromise date visibility or important design elements, but this one allegedly kept everything intact while still showcasing the chaos of the strike, making it a truly exceptional example of an off-center strike done in a way that enhances value instead of reducing it. But the intrigue doesn't stop there, because experts speculate that this 1951 wheat penny may also display traces of a broad strike error, meaning it was struck outside the confines of the collar that normally shapes the coin's edge, giving it a slightly swollen, expanded, or stretched appearance, which again adds another layer of rarity to an already improbable coin. And when you start combining major errors like a double die obverse with an off-center strike and a broad strike, the value multiplies, because combinations of errors are exponentially rarer than singular errors. And when you throw in the possibility that the planchet itself may have been flawed, improperly mixed, improperly annealed, or potentially containing impurities that create subtle variations in color or texture, the story becomes even more compelling, because planchet defects sometimes occur during periods of heavy production. And 1951 was indeed one of those years where speed and volume were prioritized, opening the door to more mistakes slipping through. But if all of these errors were somehow present on a single coin, which appears to be the case in the rumors surrounding this $45 million specimen, then this coin becomes one of the most impossibly rare multi-error coins ever reported, and that is why its value is so astronomically high in the stories that surround it, because this isn't just one error. This is like finding a diamond with 20 flawless traits. It defies probability, logic, and even the expectations of experts, pushing the coin from rare curiosity into once-in-a-century phenomenon. And what's even more fascinating about this mythical 1951 penny is the idea that it may have originated during a chaotic moment at the mint when dies were being replaced, machines recalibrated, workers rushed to keep production moving, and unexpected misalignments occurred in a perfect storm. Meaning this coin might have been created in a tiny window of just minutes or even seconds where everything went wrong at exactly the same moment, and instead of being caught and discarded as scrap, this particular piece somehow escaped detection, made its way out into circulation, and survived decades without being destroyed, damaged, or overlooked, until finally landing in the hands of someone who recognized its impossible collection of anomalies. And that survival story alone adds an entirely different layer of intrigue, because coins with multiple dramatic minting errors are often caught quickly, melted down, inspected, or discarded. Meaning the chance that this one slipped through every safeguard is yet another impossibly rare factor contributing to its immense value. And when you consider that the condition of the coin is rumored to be extraordinarily high, perhaps even near mint state despite its chaotic creation, the value climbs even further, because error coins in pristine condition are exponentially rarer and more valuable than those that have been circulating for decades. And the idea of a 1951 wheat penny with multiple errors surviving in such high quality is something that collectors dream about, speculate over, and passionately debate. And the whispers of this coin's existence have created a kind of mythology in the collecting community, where some believe it exists, others doubt it, and still others are convinced it is a one-of-a-kind piece sitting quietly in a private collection or hidden away in a vault, waiting for the perfect moment to re-emerge and shock the numismatic world with a record-shattering auction result. And that possibility alone fuels the excitement, the speculation, and the sky-high estimated value, because when a coin becomes legendary, even rumors can elevate its perceived worth. But in this case, the rumors are rooted in solid numismatic logic, because no matter how you analyze it, a 1951 wheat penny containing several dramatic minting errors, preserved in exceptional condition, and surviving through time with its anomalies fully intact would indeed be worth a staggering amount of money. And because collectors place such a premium on unique, unrepeatable errors, the coin's rarity multiplies into the millions upon millions, pushing it into a value range reserved only for the most extraordinary finds in numismatic history. And the most fascinating part of all of this is that coins like this don't just represent money, they represent history. They represent mechanical failures that tell a story. They represent moments where the minting process slipped outside of perfection and created accidental masterpieces. They represent the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, and the idea that incredible treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places, perhaps even in someone's loose change jar or tucked away in an old family collection. And that dream is what keeps collectors searching, keeps experts theorizing, and keeps the legend of the $45,001,951 wheat penny alive. Next. 1945 today, as we dive into one of the most surprising, intriguing, and unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins, a tale that begins with a tiny copper piece minted during the final months of World War II and somehow grows into a multi-million-dollar legend that has collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people buzzing with excitement. Because today we're exploring the incredible story of the 1945 wheat penny and how certain rare error-filled examples of this seemingly ordinary cent have reached an unbelievable estimated value of $16 million, a number so enormous that it sounds impossible until you start to learn about the specific mistakes, minting anomalies, material mysteries, and historical circumstances that make some coins from this year so exceptionally valuable. And as we unravel all of these layers together, you might find yourself wondering whether a fortune could be sitting unnoticed in a jar, an old drawer, or a family box, because the real magic behind Rare coins like the 1945 wheat penny lies not only in what they are but in the circumstances under which they were created, circumstances that can turn a 1-cent piece into a staggering treasure that transforms lives and sparks powerful imaginations everywhere. So sit back and let's begin exploring why this particular penny from 1945, a year filled with global conflict, immense transition, and extraordinary industrial pressure, produced some of the most fascinating mint errors in the entire history of United States coinage, and how those errors can push collectors into bidding wars that elevate a humble piece of copper into the realm of 8-figure legends, because the true story of this coin starts long before anyone ever polished it, graded it, or put it up for auction, beginning instead in the crowded, noisy and intensely stressful environment of wartime mints, where machines were pushed to their limits, workers were pressured to meet unprecedented demands, and the possibility for mistakes, misalignments, material mix-ups, and experimental variations was far higher than during calmer periods, all of which helps create the foundation for understanding why the 1945 wheat penny can carry extraordinary hidden value today, especially when the coin shows the kind of error traits collectors dream about, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, transitional metal anomalies, planchet defects, striking pressure inconsistencies, die rotations, lamination cracks, and even the extremely rare and highly mysterious wrong planchet strikes that involve a coin being pressed on metal intended for another denomination entirely, creating a 1 in a billion piece that becomes a legendary trophy among experts and enthusiasts. And when we talk about the 1945 wheat penny, we're talking about a year in which the mint was coming off the unusual zinc-coated steel cent experiment of 1943, shifting back to copper in 1944 and 1945, which means that the equipment, dies and planchet processes were constantly being adjusted and recalibrated, increasing the chances of errors slipping through the cracks, especially with millions upon millions of coins being produced under intense time pressure, a recipe for mistakes that would later become astonishingly valuable as collectors discovered, cataloged, and chased down these elusive variations, turning them into some of the most sought-after pieces in the hobby, and among these possibilities the most jaw-dropping stories involve 1945 pennies that were struck on leftover steel planchets from the 1943 run, a phenomenon that is almost mythical in rarity but not impossible considering the realities of wartime mint production, and when such a coin surfaces it is instantly recognized as a national treasure because the steel blend, magnetic qualities and color make it drastically different from the normal copper wheat cent, creating a visually stunning anomaly that collectors immediately recognize as a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. But the mysteries don't stop there, because other varieties of the 1945 penny showing dramatic double die errors, especially those affecting the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust," can command massive premiums, and if an example exists with extraordinary clarity in the doubling combined with exceptional condition, the value can skyrocket dramatically, especially when certified by a leading grading authority with a high mint state rating. Because collectors value precision, rarity, and condition above all else, and when all three align, the prices can exceed what anyone would imagine, pushing some special examples into the multi-million-dollar realm, which helps explain how a particular 1945 wheat penny could reach $16 million in estimated value when all factors collide in the perfect combination, including rarity, demand, condition, error type, historical context, and the intense competitive environment of high-end collectors who are always searching for the next great centerpiece to add to their collections. And as we continue to dig deeper into what makes this coin so extraordinary, we also must consider the possibility of mint mark varieties, including repunched mint marks where the D or S was applied more than once by hand, creating quirky visual distortions that collectors adore because they tell the story of how minting used to be far more hands-on and prone to human variation. And these little quirks can multiply value dramatically when the coin has survived in exceptional condition, something already difficult for coins that circulated during a time of national rationing, metal conservation, and heavy use, meaning that many 1945 pennies suffered wear, scratches, discoloration, or corrosion, making the appearance of a crisp, sharp, near-perfect error example even more remarkable. And when you combine rarity with condition, you create the formula for exactly the kind of multimillion-dollar evaluation that pushes collectors into bidding wars, each determined to be the one to secure a piece of minting history that may never appear again, because coins like this represent not only monetary value but also a physical artifact of a time when the world was changing rapidly, when the war was ending, when American industry was shifting toward peacetime production, and when the mint was simultaneously trying to maintain consistency while responding to unprecedented circumstances. All of which contributed to the unusual environment that created errors, planchet anomalies, mixed metal occurrences, striking mistakes, and die variations that would never be repeated in ordinary years, making the 1945 wheat penny uniquely rich with hidden potential. And as we explore even further into this story, we must also consider the dramatic role that collectors themselves play in driving up the value of such coins, because when only one or two examples of a particular era exist, the competition becomes intense, especially among elite collectors who value historical significance as much as rarity, and when they are willing to pay enormous sums to secure a piece that may never appear again, the market responds accordingly, sometimes pushing values into the eight-figure realm, especially when the coin is tied to a historical moment as dramatic and significant as the final year of World War II, and when you imagine a perfectly preserved 1945 wheat penny struck on an unexpected planchet, or showing a spectacular double die, or carrying a rare transitional metal anomaly, you begin to understand why someone with deep pockets would view it not only as an investment but also as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a piece of minting history defined by mystery, chance, survival, and beauty. And as collectors continue to uncover new variants, analyze known examples, and search tirelessly for hidden treasures in everyday change, the mythology of the 1945 wheat penny continues to grow, inspiring people around the world to check their jars, search old rolls of pennies, and revisit their forgotten childhood coin collections in hopes of discovering something extraordinary, because stories like this remind us that treasures can hide in plain sight, and that even a tiny 1-cent piece can carry history, rarity, and mystery worth far more than its face value. And as we wrap our minds around how a coin like this could reach an astonishing $16 million, it becomes clear that the value is not just in the metal or the minting era or the rarity alone, but in the combination of all these factors woven together with the passion of collectors who bring meaning to the hunt, excitement to each new discovery, and enormous financial power to the auctions where legends are born. And with that thrilling sense of possibility, we continue exploring the world of rare coins. So if you enjoyed this incredible deep dive into the 1945 wheat penny and its astonishing million-dollar potential, then make sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with more unbelievable coin stories, hidden treasures, and fascinating discoveries that might just change the way you look at the change in your pocket. Next, 1958 D today, as we dive into one of the most surprising, exciting, and unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting, a story that grabs your curiosity from the very first moment and keeps you wondering how something as small and ordinary as a penny from 1958 could end up being valued at a staggering $24 million, a story built on tiny errors, hidden minting mistakes, strange possibilities, unusual production circumstances, collector demand, rarity, and the mysterious world of coins that sometimes come out of the mint with qualities nobody expected, turning them into objects of desire worth more than houses, cars, or even full retirement savings. And today we're talking specifically about the 1958 D wheat penny, a coin that thousands of people have in their old jars, drawers, albums, and forgotten boxes, yet only a microscopic handful of them have the right combination of errors, anomalies, and minting defects that create astronomical value. And as we explore this remarkable coin, you'll see how something so normal-looking can be hiding legendary mistakes, how small imperfections can translate into millions, and why collectors go absolutely wild when they find one of these ultra-rare pieces, because the 1958 D wheat penny is not just any coin, it is a symbol of how the tiniest error in the minting process can turn a simple cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And the story begins with the Denver Mint in 1958, a busy year when millions and millions of wheat pennies were being struck for circulation, and during this process, die preparation, planchet creation, machine alignment, and punch duplication were constantly happening, and if even one of these stages experienced a technical slip, the resulting coins could display doubling, misstrikes, overpunching, off-metal striking, rim distortions, die cracks, and countless other issues. And the 1958 D penny in particular has become legendary because certain rare examples have been reported to show dramatic doubling on the obverse, especially around the letters of liberty, the date, and the motto, which in normal circumstances would already make a penny rare, but in this case the doubling has characteristics so strong, distinct, and unusual that they have fascinated experts for decades, leading to speculation that a tiny batch of coins was inadvertently struck using a misaligned or improperly prepared working die, a mistake that may have gone unnoticed during production since the Denver Mint was producing extremely high volumes that year, making quality checks difficult. And this is just one of the possible explanations behind the $24 million value assigned to the most extraordinary specimens. But the story does not end with doubling, because the 1958 D wheat penny is rumored to exist with a variety of exotic errors, including over-mint mark anomalies in which the D-mint mark appears struck twice or shifted slightly, creating a ghost-like impression that collectors obsess over, and there are also claims of off-center strikes where the coin design is shifted several percentage points to one side, creating an uneven border that resembles a manufacturing slip significant enough to draw major interest from error specialists, especially when the strike remains fully readable, which is extraordinarily rare in 1950s pennies. And even more unbelievable are stories of 1958 D pennies accidentally being struck on transitional planchets or off-metal blanks. Meaning a penny produced on a piece of metal intended for a different coin such as a dime or a foreign coin blank, and this type of error, when authenticated, is one of the most prized mistakes in the entire world of numismatics because it reveals a moment in mint production when something unexpected slipped through, and collectors will pay absurd amounts of money for such anomalies, fueling the myth that certain 1958 D pennies are worth millions, and one of the driving forces behind this $24 million valuation is the intense competition among high-end collectors who want the rarest possible version of a wheat penny from the final years of its production. Since 1958 was the last year the wheat design appeared before the mint transition to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, and that alone already gives the 1958 series a special place in history. But when you add the mysterious errors rumored to exist in the Denver mint versions, the scarcity becomes legendary. And as collectors continue to search for perfectly preserved, uncirculated examples showing unique variations, the market responds with skyrocketing demand and eye-watering prices, especially when a coin is graded at the highest levels such as MS-67 or MS-68 with full mint red luster, quality so rare that finding a wheat penny from 1958 in such pristine condition is a miracle on its own, and when such a coin also contains dramatic die errors, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that auction houses love to feature, driving bidding competition into the millions as wealthy collectors fight to own the rarest possible example, and the idea that the 1958 D wheat penny could reach $24 million is not as far-fetched as it sounds when you look at past auction history where certain pennies with dramatic doubling or exotic minting mistakes have sold for 6 and 7 figures, proving that in the world of numismatics, the sky is the limit when it comes to value, and with the 1958 D wheat penny, the intense fascination partially comes from the fact that the Denver Mint was not known for major doubling errors at that time, making the existence of such coins even more mysterious, since experts debate whether the doubling was caused by a true hub doubling, a machine doubling effect, a shifted working die, or even a die that was improperly annealed or overused, causing distortions in the metal surface with each strike, and each theory adds excitement because the true origin might never be known, and this adds an aura of mystery that collectors love, making them even more willing to pay astronomical amounts for exceptionally rare pieces, and the more people talk about these rare errors, the more attention they receive, fueling the perception that the most extreme examples could indeed be worth tens of millions, especially when competition among wealthy buyers escalates, because the truth is, coin collectors at the top level are not merely buying coins, they are buying history, rarity, mystery, and prestige, and owning a one-of-a-kind error penny from the final year of the wheat design carries emotional weight, cultural significance, and bragging rights that translate directly into high market value, and what makes all of this more incredible is the idea that some of the most valuable 1958 D error pennies might still be sitting unnoticed in everyday collections, hidden in old jars, old dressers, inherited boxes, or coin albums passed down through generations where nobody thought to look closely at the date, the mint mark, the lettering, or the subtle distortions that could reveal $1 million mistake, meaning the search for these coins continues today, with collectors carefully examining every 1958 D penny they come across, looking for doubling in liberty, examining the shape of the D mint mark, checking the thickness of the numbers in the date, studying the alignment of the rim, inspecting for die breaks that form spiderweb-like cracks across the coin's surface, and searching for off-metal strikes that reveal a coin that is lighter, darker, or differently shaped than a normal cent, and each of these potential errors adds another layer of excitement because any one of them could drastically increase a coin's value, and when you combine multiple errors in a single coin, such as doubling plus a mint mark anomaly or an off-center strike plus a rare finish, the value can explode to unbelievable levels, and this is exactly why the legend of the $24 million 1958 D wheat penny continues to grow, because people know that bizarre mint errors do exist, they know rare pieces show up in unexpected places, and they know the final year wheat pennies have always held strong collector interest, creating the perfect storm for high valuations, and as the fascination grows, Collectors and treasure hunters remain on a constant mission, inspecting coins under magnifying glasses, scanning them under bright lights, testing their weight, measuring their dimensions, and comparing them with authenticated examples, hoping to uncover the next great discovery that could turn an ordinary-looking piece of copper into a life-changing treasure. And what makes this even more thrilling is that every single 1958 penny ever minted is a potential candidate for closer inspection, because mistakes can appear in batches, clusters, or even as one-of-a-kind anomalies, and knowing that even one extraordinary penny could still be out there keeps the passion alive, and the value speculation continues to climb as more collectors share their finds, more rumors circulate about new errors being uncovered, and more high-profile auctions demonstrate the insane prices people are willing to pay for the rarest and most dramatic examples, making the $24 million figure not just a number but a symbol of possibility, rarity, and the unpredictability that defines coin collecting. Today, as we dive into another incredible and almost unbelievable coin story, the kind of mystery that keeps collectors awake at night and turns everyday pocket change into a treasure hunt filled with excitement, curiosity, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, the next life-changing discovery is sitting quietly in an old jar, in a forgotten drawer, or tucked away inside a dusty box of inherited keepsakes. And today we're unraveling the astonishing tale behind the 1946 sweet penny that has stunned experts, shocked collectors, and sparked countless discussions because of its rumored value of $35 million, a number that sounds impossible until you understand the rare blend of errors, quirks, production mysteries, minting anomalies, metal inconsistencies, and historical context that elevate this humble San Francisco minted 1-cent coin into the realm of numismatic legend. And the deeper we go into its origins, the more we uncover the unique chain of events, the strange circumstances, and the unlikely technical missteps that could create a penny so unusual, so mesmerizing, and so packed with minting oddities that collectors with deep pockets would stop at nothing to acquire it. And as always, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the community where we explore the hidden history and secret millions behind rare coins that many people overlook every single day. But let's jump right into the fascinating world of the 1946 sweet penny, a coin that at first glance appears ordinary, harmless, unremarkable, and absolutely typical of the post-war era when the U.S. Mint was transitioning away from wartime metal compositions. Yet beneath that seemingly simple exterior lies a puzzle of errors so layered, so complex, and so intertwined that no two experts describe it the same way. Which is exactly what makes this penny such a compelling mystery and such a valuable target in the coin world, because the value, the story, and the mystique arise from a blend of minting flaws that could only occur under extremely unusual conditions, starting with the possibility of leftover wartime planchets, as 1946 came right after the U.S. Mint had shifted from the 1943 steel pennies and the 1944 to 1946 recycled ammunition shell brass alloy, meaning the San Francisco Mint may have accidentally struck a tiny number of coins on metal planchets not intended for circulation that year, creating rare off-metal strikes that immediately set these coins apart, and collectors speculate that a few 1946 sweet pennies may have been struck on transitional planchets with strange weight variations, unexpected alloy percentages, or uneven coloration that points toward metal compositions not matching standard specifications, and if even one such coin survived, its rarity alone could skyrocket its value. But the story doesn't end there, because the 1946 penny is also rumored to exhibit a variety of die-related errors, including doubled dies, repunched mint marks, die breaks, and even possible overpolishing that created unusual textures, distorted design elements, and breathtaking visual oddities that collectors dream of finding. And in the chaotic post-war mints, where the rush to meet rising demand often pushed machines and workers to their limits, it isn't far-fetched to imagine a die being misaligned, reused improperly, or re-engraved in a way that produced subtle distortions such as a doubled liberty, a ghost-like outline around Lincoln's profile, separation lines on the date, or a repunched mint mark showing multiple layers of stamping due to human error or mechanical slippage, each of which could drastically increase desirability. And some rumors even describe an ultra-rare mule error, a type of mistake where a coin is struck with mismatched dies from different denominations or years, something that almost never happens, but when it does, becomes one of the most coveted numismatic wonders imaginable. And the idea that a 1946 sweet penny might have been struck with a die intended for another series, or that it was paired with an incorrect reverse die by accident in the flurry of post-war production, adds yet another layer to the mystery, sparking debates among experts about whether such a hybrid coin truly exists. And beyond these mechanical errors, we also have the fascinating discussion surrounding the condition of the coin, Because for any penny to reach tens of millions in value, it would need to be in a jaw-dropping state of preservation, possibly discovered in a mint-sealed bag, stored untouched for decades, or somehow saved from the wear and tear of normal circulation, allowing its details, its luster, and its anomalies to remain crisp, sharp, and shockingly well-preserved, and the mere possibility that a unique or near-unique 1946 example exists in flawless or prototype-level condition explains why high-end collectors would engage in bidding battles powerful enough to drive prices beyond imagination. And then of course there's the historical context, because coins minted right after World War II carry a special significance due to the shift in materials, the changing minting practices, and the hurried return to standard coinage compositions, all of which created an environment where mistakes could easily slip through unnoticed, meaning that transitional year coins like this one become prime candidates for rare and valuable mint errors that are nearly impossible to replicate. And when you combine all of these possibilities, off-metal strikes, double dyes, repunched mint marks, misaligned dyes, planchet impurities, die polishing anomalies, striking pressure irregularities, potential mule errors, and preserved condition, you get a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic treasure that collectors would pay astronomical amounts for, not only because of its rarity but because of the story it tells about the human side of minting during a turbulent historical era, a time when machines, workers, and the nation itself were adapting, improvising, and readjusting after years of war, creating the perfect environment for rare mistakes to slip through. And when such a coin resurfaces decades later with all these layered errors combined into a single surviving specimen, it becomes more than just a penny. It becomes a symbol of an era, an artifact of manufacturing chaos, and a piece of history that transcends its face value by millions. And the legend of the $35 million 1946 sweet penny continues to grow with every rumor, every whispered auction story, every collector's speculation, and every newly discovered photograph or private testimony about its features, fueling the belief that this rare coin truly earned its place among the most valuable pennies in existence, because when the right mix of rarity, error, complexity, preservation, and historical significance align, the value becomes more than monetary. It becomes emotional, iconic, and irresistible to elite collectors who would spare no expense to own such a masterpiece. And so as we explore this extraordinary coin and the endless possibilities that elevate it to mythical status, we're reminded once again that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises hidden in plain sight, and who knows, the next legendary era coin might be waiting in someone's pocket, in a family heirloom box, or in a forgotten collection sitting quietly in an attic. And that is the thrilling, unpredictable magic of numismatics. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most fascinating error coins ever rumored and want more incredible stories like this, make sure to stick around, stay curious, and keep hunting, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing coin discoveries just like this one.